Hi, welcome to Matthew's channel. In this video, I will discuss the different sets of numbers. Before I discuss the different sets of numbers, let's understand first the meaning of set. Is this thing familiar to you? Yes, you're right. This is a chessboard. The game of chess is my favorite board game. In order to play the game of chess, you need to have the complete set of chess pieces. How many are they? All in all. Let's open. We have actually two sets, the black set and the white set. Here we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. 16 pieces of black and 16 pieces of white. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. If one piece is missing, you cannot play the game of chess. So when we say set, it must be complete. If one is missing, it's not a set. So in numbers, we also have different sets of numbers. Now that you understood the meaning of set, now let's try to see what are numbers. Numbers come in different forms. We have numbers like this, the normal numbers we see, the negative numbers, numbers in square root, decimals, fractions or ratio, the I, the pi. Numbers come in different forms. So this lesson will help you put these numbers in their proper places, in their proper sets. When we learn how to count, we started with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. These numbers are actually called natural numbers. And then we were taught that there is 0. So we know 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. And these numbers are called whole numbers. And then when we reach high school, we were taught that there are also negative numbers. Negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on. If you see here, I put 3 dots, which means there are numbers there, negative 3, negative 4, and so on. And also, numbers after 3, there are 3 dots. This goes on and on, goes on and on, goes on and on. And these numbers which have these numbers where we see negative and positive, we call them integers. Though I didn't write the positive here, automatically when you see 3, it means it's positive 3. Without a sign, it means it's positive. And we also have numbers in this form. 2 numbers which are divided or in a ratio form or fraction form, like 1/4. 1/4, when you divide 1 by 4, the answer is 0.25. 1 divided by 3, 0.3333333. So I put here a bar on top to mean that 3 is repeating. And negative 5 divided by 7 is negative 0.714, ... There is still more numbers there. These numbers in this form are called rational numbers. They are in a ratio form or fraction form. Now we have numbers in this form: square root of 5, square root of 2, which has a value of 2.7182, and there are still more. E, the value of E is 2.71828, ... There are still more. Pi, and the value of pi is 3.14159, ... These numbers are called irrational, which means that they cannot be converted or transformed in a ratio or a fraction form. Now, all these numbers, the natural numbers, the whole numbers, the integers, the rational numbers, and the irrational numbers, these are all what we call real numbers. We have another form of numbers, and these numbers contain I, negative 2i, 5i, 4i times the square root of 2. These are called imaginary numbers. Imaginary numbers contain I. And there's one more form of numbers. In this, we can see whole numbers or real numbers and some imaginary numbers. So we have 3 plus 2i, 5 plus the square root of negative 15, negative pi minus I. And what do we call these numbers? We call them complex numbers. Complex numbers contain real numbers and imaginary numbers. You might think it's too complicated, but to simplify the concept of sets of numbers, let me show you this. This is a map of the Philippines, but sorry, it's not totally complete because we have Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao is not here. Sorry, Mindanao, I don't mean to discriminate you, but it's just that this is enough for the analogy of this lesson. So we have the country, it's the Philippines. In Filipino, it's Pilipinas. The whole country is Pilipinas. And we have two big islands included here. We have Luzon and Visayas. And in Visayas, I have included here two provinces, province of Cebu and the province of Bohol. And we will look into the province of Cebu. I put here one city, Lapu-Lapu City in orange. And in Lapu-Lapu City, I put here one barangay, Barangay Maribago in green. And in Barangay Maribago, there is a sitio called Bagong Bayan in orange. So we will look into the sitio first to make it very simple to clarify. So, who belongs to Sitio Bagong Bayan? Sitio Bagong Bayan has natural numbers, the numbers that we learned when we were still young. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 natural numbers. And then we were taught that there's also 0. So now we know that there is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. And this represents Barangay Maribago, the whole numbers. And then in high school, we were taught that there are also negative numbers, not just 0. We don't start by 0, but with negative numbers. And it starts from negative infinity to positive infinity. So these integers represent Lapu-Lapu City. So the more we go higher, the more numbers we have. From the city, we go to the province. The province represents rational numbers. Rational numbers contain all of these, the negatives, the zeros, that you put in a fraction form or decimal. So, rational numbers contain the fraction, the ratio, decimals. Now that we're done with province of Cebu, let's go to the province of Bohol. The province of Bohol represents irrational numbers. Irrational numbers are decimals that cannot be written in a form of a fraction, such as square root of 5, square root of 3, square root of 2 over 5. Though it's a fraction, but the decimal form cannot be made into a fraction. This one, fraction, but with a square root, so they're not the same. Pi and e. So irrational numbers are not irrational, so they don't belong to the province of Cebu. Province of Cebu are rational. The province of Bohol are irrational. Cebu province and Bohol belong to Visayas. So That means rational numbers and irrational numbers belong to Visayas, which is the real numbers. So real numbers contain all of them. Whole numbers, integers, natural numbers, rational and irrational. Now we're done with Visayas. Now let's go to Luzon. Luzon is another island, so it has another concept. This contain imaginary numbers. Imaginary numbers are numbers containing I, negative 2i, 5i, 4i, square root of 2. So these are imaginary numbers. So imaginary numbers don't belong to real numbers. That's why they're separated. They're not the same islands. Finally, we have the entire Philippines, which represents complex numbers. Complex numbers contain all of these numbers. The whole numbers, integers, natural, irrational, real, imaginary, all of these. These are complex numbers. These all belong to complex numbers. Examples of complex numbers, we have 3 plus 2i, 5 plus square root of negative 15, negative pi minus I. So we have numbers, the real numbers with imaginary numbers, making it complex numbers. To summarize, this illustration simply means that somebody who lives in a sitio belongs to a barangay, belongs to a city, and belongs to a province. But different provinces don't, but if you belong in this province, you don't belong in this province. And if you belong in this province, you belong in this group of islands, Visayas. But you don't belong in Luzon, but you belong in Philippines. So Luzon doesn't belong to Visayas. So it's related to these numbers. So we say that natural numbers belong to whole numbers belong to integers belong to rational numbers belong to real numbers, and real numbers belong to complex numbers. Then irrational numbers belong to complex numbers. And then imaginary numbers belong to complex numbers. To simplify it even more, we start with the sitio, which is the natural numbers. And then we go to the barangay, which is the whole numbers. And then we go to the city, which is the integers. And then we go to the province, which is the rational numbers. And we have another province, which is called Bohol. We used Bohol, and Bohol is irrational numbers. And these two provinces belong to one big island. We call that Visayas, and that is what we call the real numbers. So real numbers contain all of this. And then we have, this is the big island Visayas. Another big island we have, the Luzon, which represents the imaginary numbers. And all in all, the Philippines is the complex numbers. So that's the summary of the sets of numbers. Thanks for watching. Please share the video so that others may learn also. See you in my next video. Bye!